Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Misfit podcast. Today, luckily, we're going to speak about cycle 1 of the 2019 training season. How did we get here already?
Number 7.
Oh
this
my
is the
God.
7th cycle 1.
Wow. I don't even believe it. It's all become a blur at this point.
It's crazy.
Before we get into the nitty gritty of what to expect in cycle 1, what do you got for everybody?
We're going to sell you some stuff.
This is the point where someone will say, skip ahead to...
I think
just listen
3 minutes and 10 seconds. I'm going to be really short. sharpentheaxeco.com. That's where you're going to find all of the new gear we got coming out. We got tank tops. We've got the rest day shorts, which are sort of like the sweat short. We've been working on those for quite a while. We got all kinds of new stuff coming out for cycle 1. That is also where you're going to find training camps. Click on the events tab. October 5th through the 7th, we're in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania at Open Box Athletics. And November 16th through the 18th, we go back to our other home in Texas. This time we are at Fort Worth, Crossfit 817. If you are looking for remote coaching, if you are looking for the tier structure that we have, if you are looking for affiliate programming, that's all going to be right at misfitathletics.com. Browse the tabs. You'll find all that stuff. There's some applications in there, all that good stuff.
That was very fast.
Boom.
I feel like anyone could sit through that.
Yeah,
Even
that's not
me.
that bad.
I'm going to just throw this out there because I figure someone can chop this up and put it on Instagram. Every cycle, I'm shocked by how many people we have following the program that do not watch the podcast first. And we know, because we know how many people are following the program approximately from website views, and we know how many people view the podcast based on downloads, and the numbers should match up. We're going to give you the blueprint as to how to follow the program right now. So if you're one of those people that has been with us for, like Drew said, going on 7 years or a few years, or if this is your first year, we will still guide you through what a successful cycle should look like if you pay attention. So hopefully we see a few more people actually listening and starting their training year off right. I think we can do it with a little.
And it's important regardless because there's nuance to this. The sport is progressing. You know, maybe the bitch work is still similar, but the distances are a little bit longer because people can sprint longer. There's more rounds.
Or the focus is just a little different.
Absolutely.
You could write the same workout and change your focus completely and approach it totally differently. So
definitely. And I mean, the basis of cycle 1, what we've always tried to do is it's so far from the open and we're getting started again. We pull apart some of the modalities. Yep. We try to get really good at something before we ask for it under intensity, before we ask you to go from the rings and back to the rower or out for a run or anything like that. We really try to set a base for the entire season, and it's worked pretty well for us so far. So again, that nuance is really what's going to be changing here. And just to start with, you know, what I would consider my area of expertise, we've got strength prep, strength, and the Olympic lifts. A lot of that is going to be mandatory throughout the cycle. If you're not familiar with Misfit Athletics, we have mandatory pieces, and then we have like a pick 1 or a pick 2 to try to make sure that you can personalize what we're trying to accomplish for yourself. The back squat cycle is back. The cycle 1 back squat cycle that took us...
It's the second or third year that we're doing this. I actually don't remember.
I think this is the third year. We played with some variation of this to try to get it right for 4 years.
Yeah.
To start. And I believe this is our third year. It existed in a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday format the first time.
Right.
And for the people whose lifestyle could support that, it worked really well. And then for the other 99%, it just beat the living crap out of them, especially with the intensity that we ask for in the bitch work 5 out of 5 days.
And I actually think a lot of it is not even that. I think a lot of it is the people who get excited about cycle 1 and they're not actually listening to the prescribed volume. They just see 5 or 6 workouts on the website and think that they're supposed to do them all, even though we're telling you right now, you are absolutely not supposed to do them all.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big contributor.
So one of the things that changes this cycle that I'm really excited about is we have strength prep work. And if there's anything that CrossFitters need to improve on as like a blanket statement, it's being able to activate certain muscle groups.
Right.
So if you go in and you do back rack lunges before you back squat, people always talk about, I can lift way more weight post Metcon. I can lift way more weight, you know, when I've already done a bunch of stuff and someone just pulls me into a lifting session and I'm not overthinking it. People get really concerned with, I don't want to do too many wall balls in my warm up because my back squat's going to get messed up, but then they're not primed to actually do the back squat and it doesn't go that well.
Correct.
So we have that going on. We have some bench press with, things like push-ups, really trying to get that concept of let's get you just a tad bit fatigued, give you a little bit of rest, and then you can see what your body's actually capable of. And we're trying to create that scenario where, maybe we don't put you all the way through a Metcon, but we've got a warm up, then we've got strength prep, and you can sort of like hack that whole thing where you PR your clean during the open.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot to be said about I guess we would just call it traditional strength and conditioning, where they have the old school like supersets and things like that prior to, and you're mixing things up. So sometimes you can achieve more by getting, you can get overall stronger by hitting the big movers, but the little stabilizing muscles or the little smaller mover muscles can get ignored with the same pattern over and over again. So you add a little extra pattern that is similar but slightly different to what you're working, and I'm hoping it just kind of expands the growth of the entire focus. So
absolutely,
we'll see how it goes.
And if you think about it in terms of like, I'm going to go into this and I'm really going to focus on what my movement patterns look like and what my activation is like, you can then carry that over. Through a back rack lunge that when you're stepping up through and you're squeezing your glutes, you understand how that's firing, and that's not just prep for your body, it's prep for your mind to take your body there while you're actually moving. Yeah. And I mean, it's typical strength accessory that you would see. I don't think we have to go too far into that. The other movements that you're going to see in the cycle, we've got strict press, we've got deadlift, we've got bench press. Again, we're taking a step back from always moving weight in that like super dynamic range and asking for this strength base. We're asking for like, if you're going to go into cycle 2 and want to pull a bunch of heavy weight off the ground for a clean or a snatch, you might want to be able to keep your butt in a decent position without pulling it to the sky and then hoping and praying that you can get back to power position. With that being said, we do Olympic lifting twice a week during this cycle, and it's based on cleaning things up from the hang. And for anybody that's maybe bounced around in programs, we used to do the power position, the pause power position, but in terms of like how much weight people were putting up, it didn't translate as well. And then getting it exactly how we wanted to see it didn't necessarily go well.
Right.
So that has become almost more like a warm up for the Olympic lifts. And then we give you a little bit more leeway with where does the bar go in terms of the actual hang, give you a little bit more speed to work with. And really what that does, we've done it a lot in training camps, is it's less steps.
Yeah.
We can really focus on, okay, this is the position that you need to be in so that you can actively pull under a barbell. And then when we go to the floor, we hope that those are so ingrained and that your squat allows you to push up through your feet instead of letting your butt rise, all these different things.
And the only thing we really make super strict about like the actual snatch work themselves, like the working sets, is that for this cycle you keep it above the knee, but we don't say like where. It's not mid thigh, it's not just above the knee, and that's because you see such a variance in size of lifters and the lengths of their legs and arms, and it changes the mechanics of where your sweet spot is going to be from the hang. So we're giving you an opportunity to not only work on power position, which everyone needs, but we're allowing you to find that sweet spot over the next 5 weeks, because that could end up being the position in which you want to start accelerating when we do pull from the ground. So you're going to want to feel what that's like from the hang first, so that when we move through the full range of motion, you have a really good idea of, where that kind of go button should be to accelerate through power position and ideally hit heavier weights. So
what's important with that, if you're still really trying to find that mind-body connection, is get some videos. If you got some videos from these hang positions and we're trying to figure out what went wrong, there's so many people in this community that can hang snatch more than they can snatch from the floor or clean. If you get those positions in your head and on camera, and then you can't really see what's going wrong from the floor in cycle 2, you have an opportunity to, open up coach's eye, throw those videos side by side and just say, oh, okay, there's no lat sweep because I didn't get to set myself at the top, or any one of a number of different things. So if you really struggle with snatching from the floor compared to the hang, I would recommend trying to get some videos of this stuff, especially from the side, that 45-degree angle, something like that, and then compare them and move forward.
Yeah, I like that. Anything else on the strength side of things?
I don't think so. I really just, these podcasts, a lot of people want information on exactly what they're going to be doing. And my mind always goes to, let's make sure that it's being done correctly.
Yeah, the how.
The how is so important. So when you're moving through this, the goal is, if you move great and you've been squatting forever, you've been pressing forever, you really like your mechanics, turn some heavy heavy metal music on or whatever you listen to, and, a belt and all that stuff, and scream and do your squats. But if you're really struggling with your technique and it says 72.5%, and you're like, well, let's round up. I'm feeling good today, I'll go for this. I mean, it's August, it's September.
Right.
Like, it just doesn't make any sense to do that. Luckily, I really think there's been a community shift. I think people don't care as much about the 1 rep max weights, especially with the way the programming's been changed.
I hope not. And I actually still had to have this conversation with like 4 or 5 of my remote clients already, is like, it is August and they're going to be testing this in August. And the goal for people who follow the blog, because again, as we stress every year, the goal of the prescription of the blog is written for those top 100, top 150 in each region, which means you have a reasonable shot of making it through the open and potentially getting to regionals and beyond. With all that said, we're trying to get you fit by March, not by November, right? So we have all this time to build this base and then continue to build or fine tune, I should say, the rest of your game on top of it. So when I spoke to my remote clients and we talked about the fact that in test week, they're going to be doing a 1 rep max back squat. Yes, you can get pumped up. Yes, you should take it very seriously. But let's say, for instance, you squat 400 pounds and it looks beautiful, looks kind of heavy, maybe a little slower than your warm-up sets. And then you go put 420 on the bar and your ass shoots up and you turn it into a low bar almost, but you make the squat and you got it. So actually your number is 420. Well, which number do you think I suggested to them that they should use for their percentages? I gave them the 400 because these percentages are going to increase over time, and we want you to be able to move as perfect as you can throughout all this volume and all these reps so that you actually are building your base correctly. If this turns into the last 2 weeks of you just fucking grinding out some shit squat reps, well, guess what? When the next cycle comes around and we need you to move perfectly through heavier weights, you're going to use some ridiculous weight that you're not moving well on. You're just going to compound your problem that you already have. So this is the time where we're loading up the volume. We really are. We're putting you into a very difficult but manageable squat program over the next 5 weeks. Choose your 1 rep max correctly. Like an actual 1 rep max of a back squat you'd be proud to post on Instagram. And boy, is that standard low these days. But I think you know what's right and wrong in this situation, and it'll be up to you to make the right decision and err on the side of perfection versus squeezing out that extra 10 pounds that looks like shit and then using that number. That's just not going to cut it. It's just the way to not be successful across the next 7 months. So it's obviously your choice, but you know where we stand on that. So
this year, there's actually another choice as well. One thing that we're changing this year is there's the way that we build the strength is based on the sport of CrossFit. So you take most lifting programs and they're trying to go from wherever you start to a really high 1 rep max. We know that if you are better at moving light to moderate to sort of heavy weight over and over and over, you have a much easier chance of advancing than if you're, the fast twitch person that can every once in a while rip out a really heavy clean, but it doesn't translate anywhere to the sport. That being said, we know of some very specific people that have followed that style of, hey, let's start really heavy and then work into higher rep. And they need it completely flipped in the opposite direction.
Right.
They need a program where, okay, I already move weight really well in a Metcon. I am the Metcon guy. I'm great on a rower. I'm great, even through front squats, whatever, 155, 185. But whenever that lift comes out or that ladder comes out, it's a huge problem. And if I just follow this cycle again and it gets in my head, am I going to be able to hit that 1 rep max this year? That alternate squat cycle will live in 2 places. Number 1, it will live in the Hatchet Program, and it will line up exactly with the way that the strength is working on the regular blog. We will also make sure that there is some sort of template or, table with dates, something along those lines, so that if you don't want to have to go back and forth, like you can just print it out and stick it on your wall, you'll know what that looks like. And that cycle is going to be for people that want their 1 rep max to be a very important part of where they stand in February.
Right.
They want to be able to say, I finally added 10, 15, 20, 25 pounds, and all those things are possible, especially for someone who doesn't squat that much, if you're patient from August to February.
Right. The squat cycle is not just through cycle 1. It's basically a linear progression
Through the whole year.
in some sort throughout the
Our year, yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So it's if you're jumping on board, you're kind of committing to you're looking to make a big change in your squat, not just increase your volume and capacity at your percentages, but your 1 rep max in your mind or in your coach's mind or whatever must improve to stay competitive. This would be more like the program that you may want to consider.
Now, do you foresee any ego issues with, do I want to choose the one that makes people better CrossFitters, or am I really that very small percentage that just crushes CrossFit and doesn't have a good 1 rep max? Do you see any issues with that, with people choosing on their own?
I do, if they feel like a lot of people feel like if they're not following the blog that they're scaling something back, and that's just not correct. You can't have a bunch of things living at the same place at the same time. So it's just that this would fit on the blog just the same as the traditional program we've put out for years. It just depends on what kind of athlete you are. And so instead of just overloading the blog with a second option and making it confusing and watered down, whatever.
Somebody maybe
people
follows.
Jump back and forth.
That's the thing that scared us a lot.
It just needs to live in its own place so that someone who's committing to one or the other knows where to go to get what they need. And that's all it is. So if people understand that, I think they're more likely to make the correct decision. If people think that they have to follow the blog, which no matter how many times we say it, there's just going to be a number of people out there who just don't let that sink in. They're going to think it's some sort of scale, and frankly, those are the people that are never going to make it in the sport anyway. So what the hell do I care? Like, tough break, kid. Yeah. Wake up. So I think putting it where we're putting it is going to work out well for those who are really, focused on their training. You're trying to do the right thing.
Right. And to make it easy for you guys, the pro tier gets the Hatchet programming and all of the other programs for that matter. The complete tier is where you get it a week in advance. And I'm not just saying this to plug the complete tier. It is so much easier to create your own nuance in a program when you get a week in advance.
Oh, yeah.
You get a week in advance. You take all the templates that we have. We've built all of these different templates for, I want to do this, but can we slide this in? And it's much easier at this point in the year. And it's challenging when you see one day at a time.
It is. Yeah.
So if you can, I tell the people that, we do cycle consultations. We talk to every complete member that wants to have a consultation with us prior to each cycle. And I tell a lot of them, you're in a unique position here to receive a full week and have those templates and be able to set them side by side. And if you're honest with yourself, or if you, shoot me a message and I recommend something, you can really plug and play easily with that stuff. And it just makes it a lot easier. So we've tried through all of your suggestions, all of the frustrations that people have had over the years to make this the best place to go to try to get all this stuff done. So again, Pro Tier is going to get you the Hatchet program, which again, you can sort of put that stuff together yourself, and the Complete Tier will get you all of it in advance a full week. So
options. I mean, if you're taking this seriously, we're not charging an arm and a leg for this stuff.
No. We, as far as I know, we don't go above and beyond with any of that stuff. We'd rather help more people than try to find the like 10 or 12 people that are willing to pay thousands of dollars for a certain product.
Correct.
Conditioning.
Before we get into conditioning, I think the gymnastic accessory is kind of a good bridge between actually strength work and conditioning. The gymnastic accessory is going to be a mix of both dynamic and strict gymnastics movements. So if you need to improve on things like you're pulling with, strict pull-ups, strict muscle-ups, or you're pressing with strict handstand push-ups, which is a common issue with a lot of people, or even just push-ups. People are really missing the capacity to do high rep push-ups these days, which is mind-blowing with everything CrossFitters can do. Like, you would think people that are, following the blog should have the capacity to open up a set of 80 to 100 push-ups. Like, that should be in your repertoire. Like, that should be part of what you can do. It's just kind of missing. We just neglect that stuff. So we're going to do a lot of that. We'll do some stuff like horizontal ring rows where you can actually get some more like horizontal pulling, I should say. We'll do like toes to bar, muscle ups, bar muscle ups. The big thing is that we're going to do things outside of Metcon. So we're not pre-fatiguing necessarily the gymnastics at this point. We're trying to get you to work on some of the skills and movements that you lack, or build some of the capacity in the pressing or pulling that you lack. Or if you don't really lack much, you can always take a step back this time of year and clean certain things up. You can always fix that muscle up kip, that ring dip kip. You can always be a little tighter on those toes to bar. You can always clean those things up, get a little closer to the wall, improve your shoulder range, and just make those handstand push-ups that much more easy. That's really what this is for. And it just provides a good opportunity instead of this. This is not just a throwaway piece, like an extra because you don't want to do more conditioning. That's fine if you feel burned out. But if you do this, you need to approach it with some real intent and see how you can get the most of it. The volume's not crazy. It's a really solid dose of gymnastics each day, but you have to take it serious if you want to.
Super easy to scale too.
Absolutely.
Like if the set's not appropriate for you, if you know like 10 by 10 push-ups, you know that by round 6 or 7, unless you space it out by like 4 minutes, it's not going to go all that well.
Right.
10 by 8, 10 by 7, whatever it is. And just to speak to the like why people don't have certain capacities in gymnastics, one, obviously body control is a huge issue, but two, the China Cho mentality of I got one more. Yeah. I got 1 second faster. If you have that mentality from August to February, it will work. You just have to ride the ups and downs of the entire season, another season. Yeah. The 7th, cycle 1 and cycle 2 and cycle 3 and cycle 4. If you're able to understand that we are chipping away at, creating a whole new athlete step by step, day by day, Metcon by Metcon, if you separate it out that far and realize and have that mentality, it's very doable. But sometimes when you don't get better in a week or two and you've been working hard on something, it sucks.
Then you just try a new program right away.
Right.
Because that works.
I'm a triathlete now, all right? Leave me the fuck alone.
I'm a weightlifter now. So that's going to be the Gymnastics Accessory. It's nothing crazy. It'll give you opportunities to practice a lot of things that you may need just a little more time and attention on. It's there for you. And it's also a place that we give a really solid mix of different movements. It's just such a huge amount of gymnastics movements we have in the sport of fitness now that if there's something very specific you need to work on, this is also the place that I would plug my template into.
Definitely.
So if I needed to get like the muscle up volume template or you name it, we have at least a half dozen or more gymnastics templates and more probably coming soon. This would be the place that you would pull out that gymnastic accessory piece that you don't need as much, and you'd plug in the piece of the day from that template that you're working on through the cycle. And again, it's so early in the year, this would be the time of year that it would make the most sense to use those templates as well. So this would be kind of where you make that fit. Moving on from there, the 2 conditioning things you're going to see on a daily basis, one of them is going to be mandatory every single day, and that's bitch work. As we continue to move along and the sport continues to progress, not so much in the open, but maybe a little bit in the open, definitely at regionals. And we've known this at the games for years and years. If you don't have an engine for longer style workouts, you just will not be competitive anymore. And there are just so many factors that go into something that should seem so simple to so many people. Sitting and rowing, sitting and biking, sitting and running. It's actually extremely complex because there's so much variance into whether it's in intervals of something or part of a Metcon or standalone long, slow distance or a medium distance mixed with other things. So you could consider like a triathlon, or you consider just a run, or you could consider some chipper or triplet or couplet with 500 meter row repeats in there. Like every part of that is different from the other, and the way you'd approach it would all be different. And until you spend enough time understanding what your paces are, what your sustainable output should be in all of these circumstances, in all of these different monostructural movements, your game is not complete. And so we are going to start to build not only your base of your engine or whatever you want to call it these days, but we're going to start to build your understanding of yourself as an athlete, because there is just so much going on. So, for example, we are going to have 2 days a week of long running and long rowing. One will be run, one will be a row.
I got scared there for a second. I thought you meant 2 of each.
No. Well, there will be 5 days a week of bitch
sorry,
work.
I can't make it to
one will be a long interval. So, for example, like 800 repeats, mile repeats, things like that in the run. You might see 1,000, 2K, maybe even a little more repeats on the row.
If you go full CrossFitter on it, you're going to be in deep shit by the end.
Correct. Yeah. Stuff where you just need to start to put some, get some steps in and get some time on the rower seat in. You're just going to need to hold something for a while and get in the zone mentally. one of the best things that happened this year was Dave Castro threw us the biggest bone of all time by programming the marathon row. Now there's no fucking distance. It's off limits for me to put in there. There's no distance left. You cannot
Just watch for however long a regionals, and then
Yeah.
I can tell you it was a while. I might have been reading for a little bit of it at the games.
Well, I mean, we still sat in the seats
we
for
did.
4 hours at the
we
games.
Did. Yes, we did.
And we sat through, I can't even tell you how many heats of the 333 throughout 3 weekends of regionals. We've watched it all. We've seen it all. And now nothing is off the table anymore. I'm talking like, if you want to build to a marathon run at some point in the season and you're that sort of person, like, it may not hurt your training. Some people think running is going to take away from something else. If you do it right, it could be super helpful. You could have this base that is just untouchable that carries over into so many other things. Now, I'm not advocating for that. I'm just using an extreme example because that's where the sport is going.
It's the most CrossFit-y of the monostructural because you're moving your body through space.
Exactly.
And it's very technical.
It is.
And it's, it's about how are you breathing? What does your upper body look like? Are you one of those people that drags your foot way far behind and doesn't bring your, leg through with, some decent form in your running? Like, if you don't do that, it's not going to get very much better.
And it's hard for a lot of people to get or give feedback on running because I just don't think they quite understand it the way we understand squatting.
Right.
We get squatting drilled into our head and we can watch somebody at a squat rack and be like, oh, send your butt back a little further. Oh, the weight shifted here. Oh, this, oh, that. Like, we all have those cues. I haven't seen anyone outside of our circle do a ton of run coaching. Like, you just let someone run and suffer, which is okay, I guess, but is that any better than letting someone squat like shit for an entire year and just like letting them, oh, you got a little better
injury
squatting.
Factor is cringeworthy enough.
For sure. And yeah, as most people know, I do a lot of running stuff. I just enjoy that style of training. And so for my own sake, like, I'm constantly trying to fix my cadence and my stride and wherever I strike the ground. I'm always working on that. And I'm still always dealing with nagging bullshit in my knees and ankles and stuff because it really does take a lot of work and maintenance and attention to do this right. And because it's becoming such a big part of the sport, it does need to be a priority, just like your back squat's a priority. It just is a part of it now. So you're going to see a lot of it. You need to suck it up and deal with it. If your goals are really to progress in this, I think we have a pretty solid mix of things that you could work on daily, which will be in the blog laid out for you, that will help you not only improve as a sprinter, but as a distance runner and sprinting and distance in both, biking, rowing, skiing, both types of bikes. We're going to make very clear when we want to see the C2 bike erg or we want to see the assault bike. We're going to make it very clear on that stuff. If you have one or the other, you do what you can. But if you have both, there'll be specific times to use each.
I mean, they're so different.
They're extremely different.
You move your legs like this on both of them, and that's about it.
Yep.
In terms of what they can do for your body, what they can do for your breathing, all that different stuff. So they're both incredible tools.
Yes.
But they're very different. It's almost like running in sleds. That's what it feels like to me.
That's a good way to put it, actually. Yeah. So there's I spent a lot of time working on this because I do truly feel like even though it's the simplest when you see the workout written out, I do think it's the most complex to train with everything else going on. And I just think it's the easiest way to hit the most energy systems and have to be the most well-rounded. Like, if you have a hole in your game, you could just exploit it on machines. You could find it really quick. So, and you can even exploit maximal strength and power because you just can't sprint on the bike if you don't have it. So like, you can really find just about everything you need to find out about an athlete on a couple machines.
You can. And for years it was like, okay, I'm not good at long metcons. I got to do more long metcons. So many variables in there based on someone's specific strengths and weaknesses that a lot of times they cannot develop that engine. Right. And a lot of the athletes that we had do extra work like this throughout the year, 18.1 came around and they crushed it. And they were like, that was easy. You just keep moving.
Yep.
Just keep moving.
The row never fell off for those guys.
Not at all.
And the steady state work actually translated really well to the light dumbbell and the simple toes to bar. Just wasn't a breather. It was just like a grind almost.
Yep.
So yeah, I think that came out pretty clearly in the open this year. So yeah, I mean, anything else to add about the bitch work?
For me, it's just a mentality switch where we're at a point now where there's no sugarcoating anything. The sport has progressed so far. You're not going to sneak in.
Nope.
Like, none of that stuff's going to happen. So when you go into the gym every single day and you look at certain things, your mindset on how you interpret those things can mean so much in what your results are coming out the other side. And for me, it's like literally trying to find the thing that you in the past would have hated the most, and you love it because it has the greatest opportunity to make you better. So like you walk in and you say, how many 800s do I have to run?
Right.
Like, this is bullshit. Like maybe, oh, I don't warm up, or any of these different things that people say, that self-deprecating humor that everyone likes to use on themselves to get out of something that they hate.
Yeah.
But that's the growth. That's your only option.
Mm-hmm.
That's your only option. Like getting yourself up for all 5 sets of back squat, or all 12 sets on the ski, or all 12 rounds on the ski.
Yep.
Saying to yourself, like, oh, I love strict pull-ups. Like, I'm going to spend all my time and energy on those. Like, instead of doing that, be like, okay, maybe I'll have time for that, but I'm going to like try to kill myself on all these other things. And that's where growth is going to come from.
Definitely.
It's not going to come from your favorite Metcon. Like every once in a while, that sort of intensity is really important, but it's a lot more pieces to this whole puzzle and this whole equation than there used to be.
And like we always preach intensity, and we're always like, intensity is king, and I still feel that way. However, intensity is relative. We've talked about this to
What's
no
the
end as well.
definition?
Yeah, so it depends on what your output is, depending on the distance and the time and the goal of everything. So intensity always changes based on what the goal of each piece is, and we're going to try to give description of it as we have done for members in the past. But on top of all that, just getting the volume in on the bitch work will encompass a lot of the mental side that Drew's talking about. And again, we're in August. If you go balls to the wall on this shit and do this volume squat cycle and try to fit in extra pieces and all that, come December, you'll need a month off. We're not trying to do that to you. We're prescribing the volume based on our experience with thousands and thousands of athletes now. If you're an appropriate level athlete to be following this, just stick to the suggestions, stick to the description, stick to the volume. If you do that, you'll be good to go. But also like realize, like he said, if you do need to prioritize the bitch work, actually make it a priority and realize that some of those days it's going to take up 70% of your training day. Doing, a 4K row or 800 or mile repeats, it's going to be an hour of your training day or more. So like just make a priority. Using that excuse, I don't have time for it, just means that you've chosen to do other things in your day, or you've picked things you don't need to work on as much to fill that time. Like another reason why the complete tier is helpful, because then you can see all the stuff coming ahead of time and you can make your decisions on how you want to move things around for the week to make it all fit. But anyway, so that's bitch work. It's going to be a lot of work. It should be fun. I hope by the end of it, people start to feel more comfortable with all these things. That's the goal. Lastly, we're going to have 5 Metcons a week. Only 2 of them will be mandatory. So the CrossFit type stuff is going to be put on the back burner a little bit, even though this is all CrossFit or all functional fitness or whatever the hell you want to call it. We're just kind of pulling the pieces apart and making you look at them individually. When you go to pick 1 or pick 2, there will almost always be a Metcon available for you. We're going to have a mix of some short Metcons, some medium to long Metcons, and 1 interval a week. It's like you always see, nothing creative, nothing crazy. It's just classic stuff that we're going to ask you to go hard on and still focus on your movement, still do everything right. It's pretty common to what we've done for 7 years now. So
this is the time where I campaign for the Hatchet Program. I do it in a lot of our different stuff. I see 2 very specific scenarios, well, maybe 3 different scenarios where you would choose to do this. The very first one to me is there are a lot of people, myself included, literally, if I back myself out as an owner and a coach, I want to be a part of this thing at the base level. It's very enjoyable to be able to talk about, I did this with this person. You find that common ground. It's the whole community aspect that a lot of people got into CrossFit, wanted to, that was the thing that really pulled them in. So maybe you're not trying to make it to regionals. You want to be on Team Misfit, you want to be part of the crew, you want to suffer with everybody. Maybe you don't have time, and that's really what it is. That's kind of scenario 1A. And then the other one is I might not be shooting for regionals this year, but I want like my lifetime goal. That's the thing that I want to do. I really want to get there. But if I overload myself and beat my CNS down to the point where the other factors in my life, it just doesn't jive, it just makes so much sense. We have done the scaling on the volume and the weight and maybe even the reps for people.
Mm-hmm.
It's done. It's completely done for you. and it's there. And I can tell you right now, it'll kick your ass. When I go to do that third piece, a lot of the times, I need a lot of like a big break in between.
Yeah.
If you really try on that lift and you really try on that Metcon, and to be perfectly honest, I still can't squat or pull from the ground or anything like that.
Right.
So all those reps that people are doing, I'm not even doing that, and it's still beating the crap out of me because I'm trying to like really focus on, okay, like if I've only got 90 minutes to work out in a day, I gotta give it hell, like comparatively in terms of, you know, where my volume is at.
Right.
So it's just such a good, well-rounded program. And I don't know, because the pro tier doesn't, like, I know we can go to the Facebook groups. I don't know exactly how many people follow it, but from what I do know, I know that not enough people follow the Hatchet program.
Yeah.
And it's not that you're not good enough to follow the other one. Life just
it is that though.
Well,
for a lot of people,
for a lot of people it is that, but for a lot of people it's your goals and your priorities are not anywhere near each other.
Right.
They're not lining up.
Correct.
Like people always talk about like, well, Vellner and Fikowski have jobs. They can't win. It's like taking that down to like, or expanding it out to the macro level. And it's like, you got kids, you've got a job, you've got maybe 2 jobs. Maybe you think you're a full-time CrossFitter, you coach 6 hours a day and you're completely mentally drained from doing that. Whatever it is, those scenarios that do not allow you to go all in, which is kind of what it takes these days.
Yes.
The Hatchet program is there, and it could do more for you than the more stuff is going to do for you on the regular block. So I always got to go there. We've obviously got the Masters program as well, and Gabe will get in front of the camera or behind a microphone or whatever and explain the nuance that's within the Masters program. We had a big uptick in people when we moved the Masters down to the pro tier.
Yeah.
We made it a little bit more affordable. That community is growing really well. Excellent showing at the CrossFit Games. Super proud of those guys and, you know, the way Gabe's developed that program. So if you're looking to jump on Team Misfit 2019, as we like to call it, that programming's there. It's on the pro tier. Gabe will explain it.
Yeah.
I don't want to fuck it up.
Boy, you summed it all up. I think that's about it. I mean, again, it's like hitting that reset button. So whatever happened, post-open, post-regionals, post-games, hopefully games athletes aren't even listening to this yet. You have some time to chill before you go jumping back into this stuff. But this is the reset button. So no matter what's happened to you in the past, success or no success, like this is your chance to approach this from a brand new point of view, brand new mindset, brand new opportunity. This is the time of year that you have to really strongly consider what your goals are for the year and, make that commitment one way or another. And if it's not for you, it's not for you. If it is, you have to go for it. Like
you do.
There's no like, I don't feel good today.
Alternating weeks, days, skipping this.
It's not going to work.
It wasn't the right thing to skip, that kind of thing.
It's just not going to work. And from the other end of the spectrum, the people that are making that 100% commitment, going gung-ho all into this, listen to what we're telling you. Listen to pay attention to the little nuance in the description. Pay attention to how much rest we're prescribing between things. Understand that we're only giving you 3 to 4 pieces for a reason on certain days. Realize that we have seen this play out now for 7 years plus. And we've been doing this since before we put a blog out. Like
doing this for almost 10 years.
Yeah. We know, actually, wow.
About 10. It'll be 10.
I'm celebrating my 10 year this month.
Yeah, my 10 year will be like 4 or 5 months from now.
Yeah. So just understand that like we've seen this play out thousands and thousands and thousands of times, and we're giving you the best advice we can from our we're just lucky to have the amount of experience we do compared to others in our field.
Tens of thousands of test subjects.
Yeah, it's just we're telling you the way we see it. We're not trying to sugarcoat anything. We're explaining the fastest path that we know of to be successful in the sport. So listen or tell us to shut up and do your own thing and good luck. But like that's where we're at. So cycle 1, time to kick off a new year.
I'm excited. Let's do this shit again.
All right. We'll see you guys soon.